The Great Depression and New Deal, Section 4, with Ms. Lashi. Standard. Congress took the U.S. off the gold standard. Fiat money or paper currency was now the legal tender of the United States. Owning gold was outlawed unless it was in the form of jewelry. So by doing this, by taking the U.S. off the gold standard, it meant that the United States could print more money, reduce the value of the money, and then thereby reducing the amount of debt that people had and make it easier for people to pay off debts. The Securities Act. It required companies who sold stocks and bonds to provide complete and truthful information to investors. The Securities Exchange Commission was created to regulate the stock market and to stop fraud. Investors are people who invest their money or put their money into the stock market in the hopes of making a profit. The Glass-Steagall Act. The Glass-Steagall Act separated commercial banking from investment banking. Commercial banks handled everyday transactions and could not risk depositors' money through stock speculation. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, was created to insure bank deposits. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, also known as FDIC. The FDIC still exists today and insures bank deposits up to $250,000. This protects bank depositors from losing their money up to $250,000 if the bank was to fail. The FDIC was established to prevent catastrophic repercussions of failed banks for their depositors in order to prevent the reoccurrence of the banking situation during the Great Depression. So what the FDIC does is if you put $250,000 in the bank and the bank fails, the FDIC will give you back your $250,000. It's like an insurance policy. But if you have $260,000 in the bank, they're only going to give you that $250,000, so you're out $10,000. So that's something to keep in mind. However, it was established to protect the majority of depositors because most people don't have $250,000 in the bank. That would be awesome if we all did. So the FDIC is a good thing. It helps to reassure Americans that banks are safe to put your money in. Agricultural Adjustment Administration. Crop prices were very low, and in an attempt to bring them up, the Agricultural Adjustment Administration, AAA, was established. The government paid people to not grow as many crops. Many tenant farmers lost their jobs as farmers sought to grow less food. This particular organization, the AAA, was found to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. They said that the federal government shouldn't be involved in states' commerce, essentially, or business by paying farmers to grow less food. The idea was if they grow less food, it'll increase the prices and then help the economy improve. Civil Conservation Corps, CCC. The CCC was a New Deal work relief program. Young men joined the program planting trees, building trails, and structures for national parks. They lived in camps and were paid $30 a month. Most of their money was sent home to their parents. Many learned to read and write while in the program. So by learning to read and write, they became literate, and this increased literacy, the ability to read and write. The Public Works Administration, PWA. The PWA was formed in 1933. 1/3 of the country's unemployed was put back to work. They built railroads, roads, bridges, schools, and dams. The Hoover Dam in Nevada is a PWA project. The Works Progress Administration, WPA. The WPA was formed in 1935. This is the most famous New Deal program. 8.5 million Americans were employed. It employed artists, writers, students, and more. For the WPA project, this is where we saw the murals that were created during the Great Depression. And a lot of the government buildings that were being built at this time, the WPA would have the artists come in and they would paint murals on the walls and the entrances or hallways of these office buildings, and they're still around today. If you see WPA underneath any artwork, it is still legally owned by the government. So if it's in a private collection, it's illegally owned. The government owns it, and it's part of the Works Progress Administration program during the Great Depression. Civil Works Administration. The Civil Works Administration is also known as the CWA. More unemployed Americans were put back to work building schools, parks, roads, and airports.